and welcome to my tutorial on progress of making the Claudia gown from Interview with a Vampire. This tutorial is focusing on the skirt. I'd already picked the colour I was going to use, which is like a tealy blue taffeta, and then I had the job of trying to match it up with some floral fabric. Again, it's really hard to try and find an exact match for these things, so as not much of the skirt can be seen from the front here with the flowers on, I found this fabric from Abercan in North Wales. That was a pretty good match. The taffeta fabric which is used on the train and the bodice is from eBay. It's colour metallic blue. That's just from England. That's the seller. As this is later Victorian period, around 1870, 1875, we're venturing into straight cut skirts now, and this is the front panel which is cut on a fold, and then at the top here I've marked pins where some darts are going to go. So that's the front piece, and here we have the back section, which is quite wide at the top because it's going to be pleated at the back. Okay, we're doing 4 darts on the top of the skirt, so we're going to start with dart number 1, which is more towards the middle. So take your fabric and fold it over to where the pin is. And I want my darts to be 9 centimeters long, so just take a ruler and measure where 9 centimeters is and put your pin. And when you sew a dart, you need to, as you can see where we're putting the pins, you need to come out towards the edge. And that will be the line that you sew your dart.
With the outside darts, we don't want those to go straight down. We want a slight angle out towards the hips. So, when you fold your material over, it will measure straight with your material, and then just move it down slightly, about 2 centimeters. And then mark 9 centimeters on your material where you want your dart to finish. And that would be the line of your dart. So now we go to the one on the far side. Turn the material over, make sure it is flat along the top, and then take it down about 2 centimeters. And then measure off 9 centimeters down and put in a pin. And then put another pin the width of your dart, which is about 1.5 centimeters for each dart, and that will be the line that you follow. There you go.
When you sew your dart, you can go forwards and backwards to anchor it at the beginning, but when you come to the end, just run it off the machine and leave 2 tails, and then you're just going to tie a couple of knots at the end and then cut them off. You want to press the darts with an iron, and you fold them outwards towards the out of your skirt, so you'd iron them that way.
when you're measuring the waist measurement here for your skirt, what you've got to bear in mind is that it's not a typical skirt, and the side seam that you would normally put in, which is about there, you have to extend that back by about 2 to 3 inches. So it goes, because now we're going to put the side seam over here further towards the back. So when you're measuring it, you've got to allow for at least 3 inches further on both sides, and this applies to the apron as well.
Okay, we're now got to put the main skirt aside for now. We're working on what they call the apron, this bit here. Now in the film, the original apron was a lot higher. This image I've got here is from an altered dress, because it was altered to fit Kirsten sometime later, so they actually dropped the apron, but it was a lot higher in the film. It only came up to about here. This is my apron pattern piece. I've had to add a couple of centimetres onto it, and here is where it's going to be pleated, so there's these marks being put on the pattern. It's been cut on the fold as well. Okay, we're now going to start putting some pins where we want to pleat it on the sides.
Okay, starting from the very top, the first pin is going to be placed at 3 centimetres, and then the gap to the next one will be 10 centimetres. Then the next gap will be 4, the next gap will be 13, the next gap will be 4, the next gap will be 13, next gap is 4, and the very last one will be 13. And you need to put your corresponding pins on the other side of the fabric. Right, to pleat it up, you take the second pin down and you fold that up until it meets the very first pin and repin it. Then go down to the next gap, fold that up until you meet the second pin and repin it. Then go down to the next big gap, fold that up to the pin and repin it. And the very last one, fold that up to the very first pin you come to and then repin it, like so.
Okay, now we've got the pins in place for the pleats. I'm just going to run a tacking stitch across the side here, just to secure those pleats in place for now, temporarily.
For making the pleats, you'll need a lot of material. I've got about 5 meters here, but I probably will need more than that. And it's just cut straight, and it started off at 10 centimeters wide. Then by the time you've done the overlocking on both sides and then turned it over to create a hem on both sides, it actually gets down to about 8 centimeters. And this is my pleating board that I made myself. Turn it the right way. And there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube on how to make your pleating board, but I've also put instructions in the written part of our tutorial. And basically it's just like a concertina of paper. and then it's put onto a backing. You can either use card, or as I've used, just another sheet of paper, or you can use fabric, and I'll be showing you how to make that. Right, this is how to use a pleating board. I've put some guidelines on here first for different widths of pleating that I might use in the future. So keeping one of the guidelines, that's how you're going to keep your pleat straight. Start off by tucking your fabric right into the pleat. Now I found that a store card or credit card, something plasticky, works perfect for this type of work. So you're going to be pushing that down, and as you do that you're going to make sure that your fabric lines up with your mark, and then when you go to the next one you just hold the first one down with your fingers so it doesn't move, and then push that down. Go to the next one, push that down. If it's slightly out you can ease that over with your finger so it lines up, and this is how you carry on. You check that one's in. Now hold that down with your fingers, go to the next one up, slightly higher than the step you're going to use, and push it in, and then just check your mark, make sure that's lined up. Take it out, use your fingers to hold the pleat, go just above the next pleat, push that right down in there, check your markings, pull that over, there you go, and then just do that all the way to the end of your board. Right, I've done the first bit, so I'm just going to give that a quick spray with some starch, not too much. And then give that an iron. There you go. Okay, then pull all your pleats out of the board. I'm not going to be using this for a while, so I'm going to put a pin into each pleat just to make sure it holds it firm. Right, to carry on pleating the next section, take the very last pleat that you did and tuck that into the first pleat on your board, and then start all over again, pushing your pleats in with your card. This particular piece of pleating that I've done is going to go at the bottom of the apron, and I've pleated approximately 3 meters of material, and the measurement at the bottom of my apron is about 1 meter. Right, turn all your work over onto the back side and then just give it a really good pressing, and this is now going to be attached to the apron. Right, for the bottom of the apron, before the pleating goes on, you can either overlock the edge or you can use pinking shears to neaten it off. But to remind you which is the front of your apron, the pleats go on the side, the pleats go up. So if you've got your apron this way round and all the pleats are facing downwards, you've got your apron the wrong way round. Your pleating now has to go on top of your apron. Okay, now we're going to get the pleating pinned onto the bottom of the apron. Now where I'm going to start is, this is the side of the apron coming down, and this is going to be the seam that will be sewn into the skirt. So I want to start the pleating just the other side of the seam line, because I don't want to put that into the seam allowance at all. So just on the back there, where the pleating might be in the way, just put a pin there to pin the final pleat out of the way. and then pin on your row of pleating. Now when you get to the end, need to stop just before that line of sewing there that goes up the side of the apron. And what I've also done is just neatened off the end of the pleating at the beginning and at the end with a bit of overlocking. And now we're just going to sew that straight onto the apron. Okay, sew this down onto the bottom of your apron. Take all the pins out and give it one last press, and that's all you can do to the apron right at this moment.